Okay, hello,
Welcome
Tim.
to Belgium.
Welcome to Belgium. Welcome to Halen in Belgium. Welcome for a show that we will see tonight in Bed and Blues.
Thank you.
In Halen with about 40 people minimum in audience. So
Cool.
I hope you like to perform for such an audience.
Yes. This place
It's
feels
very
very good.
intimate and you normally get immediate response from the audience. That's the experience we have from previous concerts. I wanted to ask you something about your history of recording albums. I saw that you started making solo albums in 1998.
I did.
And since then 12 solo albums, studio albums and a live CD. But what was more striking for me was that you have been cooperating with a lot of very well-known musicians, American musicians in the Americana scene, in fact, like Tift Merritt and Lucinda Williams, and you recorded an album with the guys from Wilco, which is also a very popular band here. But how did you get to these people to support them or to get support from them?
Well, it helps if you write songs that they like, but also they're working musicians, you know, and they work in the studios and they get paid.
But did they record songs from you then, or?
Well, interesting. So you mentioned a few different people. Tiff Merritt. That was an incident where I was in a studio in Minneapolis, and I was making a record with Gary Lewis from the Jayhawks. And she was just coming to visit the studio that day, to check out the studio. And I said, "Would you like to sing?" She said, "Yes." With Lucinda, I met her early on in Los Angeles, and she just took a liking to me and helped me make my record, my Porcupine record. And I'm indebted to her, literally. And she was a mentor to me and taught me about songwriting without even trying to be a teacher. She was just being herself. And I watched her work and how she works and her work ethic.
Pretty straightforward. But you also sang on her Little Honey album, I saw.
I did, I sang on an AC/DC cover.
Which is also very rare for Lucinda Williams to cover a song from AC/DC.
Yeah, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
You also have connections, or at least some advice to go into the music from John Prine and from Hyatt. Hyatt. Who also lives in Nashville, I think. John
John Hyatt. Yeah, he does live in Nashville now. Yes. He always has. He lived maybe outside of Nashville a bit, but he moved to Nashville like in the 70s, and a little bit in Los Angeles, of course. He took me on tour. Took me on tour through Belgium, Holland.
For support.
Support act. And was a mentor to me as well.
And John Prine, how did he? Because I saw that he was in fact promoting you to start a career in music.
Basically, I was a street musician with the same guitar that I play now. A black Gibson J45, and he, I found him in Ireland years ago, and he just encouraged me to write songs, to be my, to write my own songs
and record them.
Yeah, instead of covering all country blues or Sonny Terry and Brownie McGhee, Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, stuff like that. He encouraged me to write.
But for over 25 years, you're now performing yourself on stage. Do you always do that as a solo artist, or do you also have a band which is supporting you?
I think I'm about 90% solo, because it's just easier for me to make a living as a musician, playing as a solo, traveling as a solo artist. A band is expensive, and transportation.
But you don't have fixed guys that are forming your band when you perform with a band?
I don't, but in Nashville where I live, I have many choices. I mean, unlimited choices.
Every street corner has musicians.
Well, there are a lot of great musicians there.
Sure.
And that's good for making records too, of course.
What is your songwriting process? Do you start with music and then lyrics, or lyrics, then music and recording?
A little bit of everything, for sure. A little bit of, my process is really, I get up in the morning and I try to write in the morning. the first thing that comes in.
Yeah, and the inspiration comes from?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Whatever.
Yeah, the spirit of the universe. Who knows? Yeah, I mean that's.
But it's not always private life or personal
No.
experiences. It can be fictive and just made up stories.
Yeah, sometimes it's direct fiction. Sometimes it's things I overheard people say. I have written a lot about my own life, my own personal life as well. So a little bit of everything, and then little observations, little movies that you make up about people, about characters. I mean, when you learn from the great songwriters like Randy Newman and John Prine and Lucinda Williams, when you study their music, and the same with the Beatles and the Stones, they wrote character songs as well.
But as a listener, would I recognize what is coming from your personal life, or do you hide it in a way with?
I definitely do. Like sometimes I'm singing in the first person, I did this, I did that, but it's not me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm singing in the third person, they.
That's
but
about you.
Me. But I mean, I mix it up. I think that is the way that we work. You take your life experiences and the stories you've heard, and you weave parts of them into songs.
Yeah. And are there other artists that inspire you for songwriting, or other genres from other songwriters?
Absolutely, poets, painters.
Yeah.
Everything. My daughter. So there's a lot. I take it all in. I think as a poet, I studied poetry in university. I never talk about that in interviews.
Okay.
People don't ask me about it. Yeah, I mean, I have published poetry books now, and I studied poetry in university, so I had good teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones that told me to always be on the observational side of life every day.
I read also that in another interview that you have been giving in the last months, that this new record is in fact you see it as being very different from your previous ones. More personal, more acoustic, more folk influence with some
more Canadian.
More Canadian, because it is recorded in Canada.
My mom was Canadian.
Yeah.
So I was able to have a producer up there write a proposal to the government, and they gave us a grant to make the album. So it's an artist grant album, which is different, absolutely different than any other record I've made. An all Canadian band, and it's just different in that way, and also a band recording live in a room about the size of Bed and Blues, a small room, and we're all in it together. So whatever happens is happening on everyone's microphones.
That's how you recorded this one?
Yeah.
But not how you did the previous ones? Then.
I know, I did a lot of the other ones live too. Oh, yeah. And we always overdub a little bit. Like we overdubbed some violin and some strings on this new one. Yeah. We overdubbed a female backing vocalist.
More perfection afterwards.
Yeah, just basically, but the general idea of the song, and I learned this from the Beatles and Bob Dylan and all the blues guys, of course, Elmore James and stuff. The general idea is done right there. The majority is done, the basic track, and then you sweeten it up somehow. But this one I sang them live. That's the other thing that you don't hear many people doing, especially if you're using drum machines or if you're building the track by track, which is not the way the blues records are made. Blues records are made live. I'm not a blues artist necessarily, or a blues-based artist. I love the blues, and I was just in Mississippi 2 days ago, and so those albums are mostly made live. What you hear is what the band did that day.
Yeah.
And my album, this new one, has got mostly that, and then a little bit of sweetener.
Yeah. Do you also cover songs on your albums?
I have. I've covered. I've covered a few songs. I've covered my friends' songs, but I write a lot of songs. I write a lot. I write
usually own stuff.
Yeah. What did I cover? I covered. It was in the spring one sunny day. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the blues song that's so famous. Everyone knows it. Sitting on Top of the World.
Okay.
Yeah, I covered that, but that was like an accident because I was just warming up to get ready to record, and I played that song, and it was recorded, so it ended up on the album.
But you're also performing, almost year round, and you are probably then also meeting a lot of other colleague artists. Is there someone that you say this is what I really find as a favorite artist from colleagues?
I do love Wilco. I love that band because they took American roots music and took it to a new place. Most certainly, it took the appreciation of rock and roll into a new direction, into an artistic direction.
And Jeff Tweedy's songwriting is a bit comparable to yours, I think.
I think he's actually a little more introspective and poetic than I get. He is definitely one of my favorites, one of the greats out there working today, solo or with the band. And the band, for my money, they put on the best show in rock and roll today. Them and like the Flaming Lips. Just as far as like an experience with a rock and roll band.
Maybe a few questions about your newest album, which I reviewed very recently, in fact, for Roots Time. Find Your Way. I understand from listening to the words, which not many people do, I must say, when you listen to music, that there are a few very personal songs on it. I think the title track is a personal song.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it came from an experience when I ate I was at a recording studio with the band of Heathens. They're from Texas, and someone left like a pot brownie there. I ate it, and that experience. Then this is 10 years ago, and the experience of what happened that night. I basically got lost in my own town in my car. And I was terrified. Actually, it changed my life. And I journal about, so I'm a chronic journaler. I write a lot in my journal. And I wrote about that. And then during the pandemic, I was looking through my journal and I saw that story and then I wrote the song.
Is your songwriting also with a tape recorder and whatever comes up in your mind that you put it on as a kind of demo on a tape, or
would
then
be
develop it further afterwards?
It would be a tape recorder, but now this is the tape recorder.
Yeah, that's the same. It's the same way. But you use this also for songwriting.
Absolutely. Yeah. The voice memo. There's 200 voice memos.
Okay, so maybe a few additional ones after tonight's show.
Which
we then recognize on your next album.
I use it all the time. It's just like if you picked any number from it, it's just crazy. It's like a voice memo. I could just go and
that can be sentences or ideas.
Pick a month. Okay, let me see. That's just like it can be a little bit of. It can be that. It can be. You never know. I asked this girl. Sometimes it's music. Sometimes I just record what I hear out in the streets.
Yeah, it's melody or something.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think the other one that I think is also a personal one on your record is Here to You.
Here for you. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's personal. That's definitely personal.
That's about your personal private life.
That's about my divorce and my daughter. Yeah.
When did you divorce? Is that recent?
No, not recent. 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you have a daughter, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not Jacqueline.
No. It's no. That's
because Jacqueline is another track on your newest record.
Right, and that is the correct pronunciation of her name. For some reason, I added another syllable in her name. Jacqueline that's a completely made up song.
And a person also.
I don't think so. I don't think I know that person.
Okay.
That's a different one. They sometimes the song the chorus comes along, Jacqueline, what's the deal with your and then I just make up the rest of the song, to complete the story. I'm sure if I looked at the lyrics, there'd be something personal in there. One thing
that we will never find ourselves.
That's true. I'll never
I saw also on the latest record that there's a song that you co-wrote with Jamie Harris, which is I think the girlfriend of Marie Gauthier.
Yes. Yeah.
She's also coming for a show in the next months.
Oh, cool.
Here in Belgium.
Well, you can ask her. Basically, we were in a place in Arkansas. It's called the House of Songs. So they put like 10 songwriters in a house.
Okay.
And, it's not that big of a house. and we have to write songs every day.
Together.
Yeah, well, groups of 2. And the day that I had to write with her, we didn't really write a song, but I wrote the first line of that while I was there with her. I hear you singing in the kitchen, and you know it's breaking my heart.
Yeah.
You know, it's just some kind of blues line or something. Because probably also I could hear her singing at one point in the kitchen, you know, of the house.
Okay, but you had the first line, and then what happens then?
Well, that's all we wrote. Then I took it, and like a year later, I just saw that, and I was like, oh, that's something I'll make up. And I made up a story about a wild couple getting having a crazy journey across Tennessee, Arkansas. And, you know, I credit her because that's what you do when the initial...
When you use the idea of someone else.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't her idea at all. But I know that I wrote it down in her presence, you know. And it's just a polite thing to do when you write songs together. Yeah, I mostly write by myself, to be honest. You know, that's the thing. I've written a few co-writes. There's another co-write on the album before called Anchor, and I wrote that song in that house with another songwriter, and she actually wrote half the lyrics, and I wrote half the lyrics.
Okay, to conclude, maybe a personal question again. What do you prefer yourself? Writing songs, recording songs, or performing songs?
Writing, recording, and performing. All three are just so different. Writing is a daily thing for me. Recording, I do record a lot, but you know, it's not daily. And then performing is just a completely different animal.
But the recording process is usually more a technical process, I think, in a studio.
Yeah, I can't say which one I prefer. I love recording. It's so fun, yeah.
But the interaction with audience is also something that you like a lot.
Yeah, that's probably more preferable.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know for tonight.
Yeah.
This will be your first show in the European tour that you are going to do in the next 2 weeks.
It's a long drive to work today.
Yeah, I understood, and no jet lag yet, but that will come tomorrow. And then you go tonight to the Netherlands, I think, for a show, and then thereafter you have a lot of shows in Spain. How come that it is so much in Spain? Are you so popular in Spain?
Well, no, it's just you know, this year is a little different, and I have an invitation from a friend there to come. He's a professor, and he has me like go in front of his classroom and talk and answer questions. And the kids practice their English with me.
Okay.
So I get to go to Mallorca for that, right? And then we put together a nice little show there, and yeah, I just I love it there so much. I think if I did have to pick, you know, a favorite place to go and just walk the streets,
Would be.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I speak Spanish. You'd think I would have learned a little bit of French by now. Or Dutch, but it's pretty minimal. Pretty minimal. But yeah, I lived in. I think I just love to go there.
Yeah.
And
I saw that one of the shows in Spain is in Valencia.
Yes.
Are you aware what happened in Valencia in the last weeks?
I am. I am very aware of it. Yeah. We had a lot of flooding in North Carolina, and then but we didn't egg the. You know, they threw eggs at the king in Valencia last week. I saw that.
But the show will go on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was expecting that it would not, but they would like to do it.
Why not? Okay, thanks a lot. What can we expect tonight on your playlist? Songs from the new album, I guess.
Yes.
But also from older ones.
Absolutely. Songs from the last 20 years.
Yeah. Very good. Let's look forward to that then, and thanks again for this short chat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I will be listening to what you will present us tonight.
Thanks so much. Thanks for listening to my music and writing about it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.